welcome to the session on limitations of the JSP approach. In this session, you will learn to identify the limitations of the JSP approach, identify the model, view, and controller components. The JSP approach creates dynamic web applications and may lead to various limitations. JSP approach. The Java code is embedded in an HTML source file, which leads to complexity. As shown on the screen, the HTML code and Java code are written in a single file. Hence, they hamper the readability of the file. Another limitation of the JSP approach is sharing of the source files. As a consequence, the changes made by one group in the source file may cause bugs in the work of the other group. Consider a scenario where a web application is being developed in an organization. While developing this application, the programmer makes some changes in the Java code of the source file. Thereafter, the designer takes the same source file and makes changes in the HTML code of the file. While making the changes, the designer accidentally deletes some part of the Java code, which the programmer is unaware of. Ultimately, while executing the file, the programmer finds an error because of the bug introduced by the designer. The limitation of the JSP approach creates a problem of separation of concerns. The separation of concerns means that the unrelated features should be separated in the source code. In separation of concerns, 3 distinct concerns need to be addressed. One of the main concerns with the JSP approach is the handling of the HTTP-related elements. The HTTP elements include the request that arrives with arguments and embedded configuration data in the HTTP headers and the response that must be sent by using the HTTP protocol. The second concern is that there is a computational problem to be solved, which means a request must be answered. However, the requests might come in different ways in different circumstances. The final concern is that the browser requires the response to be formatted by using HTTP. These problems are also applicable to other programming technologies. Now, you know the 3 basic problems of the JSP approach. These problems can be addressed by using the code components called the model, view, and controller. The design approach developed by using these components are referred to as the Model View Controller, or MVC Architecture. To implement the model, plain Java code can be used. To implement the view, plain HTML code can be used. To implement the controller, servlet can be used. The MVC architecture consists of model, view, and controller components. These components work together to create a web application efficiently. The user accesses the view and sends a request. From the view, controller processes the request and provides data to the model. The model receives data from controller and updates the view. In MVC, the model is responsible for computation in the program. For this, it may use a database or some other system. The model is not concerned on how the input is provided or the output is presented. The model is implemented by a simple Java class. The view is responsible for taking the results of the computation from the model and presenting it to the user. It is important to note that in some systems, the user might not be human, but might be another computer system. However, this does not alter the essential design. The view is implemented by HTML code. The controller is responsible for taking the input and pre-processing it, so that it can be provided to the model. In a web-based system, the controller extracts the essence of the request and argument data from the HTTP request. It is mostly implemented using servlets in Java. In this session, you learned that in JSP, the Java code is embedded in an HTML source file to create dynamic web applications. In JSP Approach, the response needs to be formatted using HTTP. The problem of JSP approach can be overcome by implementing model, view, and controller components. Happy learning.